A tragedy awaits. Well, don't you know that familiar souls have walked this path before? You kill us both away. Don't tell me you're not afraid to turn me around. You turn me around. Disaster. Something wrong. Obvious, it's obvious. Now we'll seal our fate. It's what we've seen for. How's it feel so right? Because it feels so wrong. Drown our hearts in ecstasy as we lay down. Hand in hand we tumble all the way. Disaster. Something wrong. Obvious, it's obvious. Obvious, it's obvious. Disaster. Don't shut it off. Obvious, it's obvious. Obvious, it's Come on and fall with me as we lay down. Tumble as the dark becomes a day. Drown our hearts in ecstasy as we lay down. Hand in hand we tumble all the way. Disaster. Something wrong. Obvious, it's obvious. Obvious, it's obvious. Disaster. Don't shut it off. Obvious, it's obvious. Obvious, it's obvious. Disaster.
That's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Wait, turn that off. Okay. It is off, right? Yeah. Episode 93, STL Roar, mycitymymusic.com. We have the 45 in the house, or one of the 45. Introduce yourself, Bates.
Hey, I'm Baines Johnson, singer of the 45. I am very happy to be here.
That's awesome. So you were the odd man out. They went rock, paper, scissors, said you're going because we had practice tonight, and that's right?
Well, they all have kids and I don't, so I'm...
Oh, the kid
yeah.
excuse.
Yep.
This is kid friendly. You could have brought him in.
I also live about a mile away.
Oh, there you go. So you guys are practicing tonight for your big show on Friday or Saturday
It'll be Friday night.
at
8
Diamond
o'clock.
Music Hall.
Yep.
And what time is showtime?
So showtime's at 8, and we'll be playing for at least an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll have another group there from 9:30 probably till midnight or later.
That would be Bad
So,
Tattoo.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we're really excited about
Yes,
that.
those guys are awesome. They were in the studio last week, and I've known Vance for a long, long time. He's super cool. I mean, if you don't know him, sit down. He could be your best friend. He knows a lot. So, and you being so young, you can learn something from us old timers.
I keep being reminded of how little I am in the music scene here.
You're not little. You're just young, Grasshopper. You know what? And when you guys start, I mean, how many CDs have you guys got under your belt right now?
We're
Recorded.
doing, including the EPs, probably five, I
Five?
think.
Cool.
A couple of them were from before I joined the band, and
Mhm.
then since then we've been doing 2-3 songs, 5 here, 2 there. We're kind of getting into the shorter ADD format,
Right, right.
which I think it's kind of the way to do it now.
Definitely. But
Keeps
you
things
got-
fresh.
But you do have to do at least one vinyl. At least one vinyl, don't you?
I would like to. I have to make the case. Right now, we spent our entire budget getting shirts made for this show. We had a new design drawn
Right.
up, and we've got a really cool new shirt that we're debuting. So we had, I think, 40 or 50 of those made. So
It's all about the merch.
it is now.
It is, because you guys got a lot of merch, and you're putting yourself out there, you know, like we were talking earlier. Back in the day, it was all blood, sweat, and tears, and, you know, the studio came in and picked up, you know, and you guys were just, everybody made money on everything. You know, nowadays, you on all your sales as far as your CDs or records or whatever it was that you were out there selling, now everything's online, and it's kind of hard to reap those benefits or the cash benefits like they used to. So you got to go with merch and all the other marketing that you have to do, right?
You go to rent a car, they don't even have a CD player anymore. So there's no way to play one. You know.
I know, and I realized that. I didn't realize that. Well, my truck is old, so I still have a cassette player in it.
Mine too. Roll down windows, cassette player, push button locks. It's
Yes.
the lo-fi package, and you can't get those anymore.
No, I still have a standard. My truck is a standard. I love that.
That's
Except in traffic.
in traffic, but if there's ever snow in St. Louis, you want to have 4-wheel drive and a manual. So
Definitely. But it doesn't help with the ice.
No.
Nothing helps with the ice. So who do you play with? Who's in your band? Mention their names. Give them a little shout out.
So for the last couple of years, we've
Mhm.
had Dave Kopp playing with us. He was from Copperview. He's an amazing bass player,
Mhm.
and he's become one of my best friends. Like we geek out on stuff all the time.
That's
so
cool.
it's really fun to get to know people better. Like he and I had known each other for years, off and on throughout the scene, but just aside from hanging out or crashing on each other's couch once in a while, we didn't know each other that well. And
Right.
over the last couple of years, we've worked on a couple of houses together. We've done a lot of work. So
Now
we
you're
just-
changing clothes out, aren't you? Y'all
Yeah.
are sharing clothes.
Yeah, he's 6'2", so his stuff's a little big on me. But yeah, I mean he's a great dude, and he's the most recent addition. Jared is our guitar player, and he's also a fantastic musician. He draws from the same kind of 90s well that I do, so like he and I align on that stuff a lot, the textural layers and
Mhm.
really like thinking about that third dimension of music.
Right.
That's something he's really good at. And then Brandon, who's been around since the beginning on
Right.
drums, and he's just one of the most just present, in your face, pocket style drummers. I mean, he just slams.
He's
and
right
it's-
on it.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's
that's good.
some people you watch them play and it's almost like they're not even hitting the drums.
Mhm.
Brandon's the opposite. He's like, no, I'm gonna let you know I'm playing drums right now.
There's another drummer like that too. His name is Tommy Drake, and he is a sound guy, and he's very articulate. When he hits the drum, you hear it. You know, there's several others drummers that are just freaking phenomenal in the city. You know, they all have their great strengths, but yeah, he's one of those too. It just amazes me. The first time I ever heard him play, I've just always known him as a sound guy. But
And it's funny, our practice area is pretty small, and we're all kind of like do this King Arthur thing where we're all facing each other. These drums are so damn loud, and so we've got the in-ear monitors, but you almost don't need any other stuff. It's just the drums are right there.
Right.
And then when you get on stage, if you don't remember to turn everything up in the mix, it's like, where do the drums go? Because we've got them off. I mean, you don't need them.
Right.
But when we get out on stage, it's like, oh shoot, we got to turn the drums back on.
Right.
But I mean, he's got amazing timing. Everything falls together around, it's around that rhythm section. So you have to, you got to have that solid foundation. And he's fun to watch. Like I forget, like when we're playing together. He's just fun to watch him play because he's all that energy into it. And you know, if we're having a bad day or we come in and we're kind of dragging, by the second or third song, I mean, he's about to hit the ceiling with the sticks. I mean, it wakes you up, it gets you moving, and that kind of energy is what we need just to kind of kick everybody's asses into gear. So
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and it makes you realize that, you know what? It's not all that serious. Leave your shit at the door, and then you're in there, and you've got this killer badass drummer with all his energy, and he's like soaking it all up and throwing it back out there. Yeah, you do. You kind of step back and you realize it's not that big of a deal right now.
you can look at groups too and see these guys that have like, you know, just one tom and like one little ride cymbal, and you can kind of get a feel for what kind of band it's going to be by the kind of equipment they have on stage. Nobody brings guitar amps or any of that stuff anymore. We still bring one or two. I keep arguing because I want them.
Right.
But drums are always up there. And these guys that have the double rack with, you know, 25 whatever else, it's like, okay, that's a metal band, right? There's no mistaking when you look up on stage. It's like, oh, this is a rock and roll band.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
that just sets the stage before anything else, and sets those expectations. So
Definitely, for sure. Well, that's awesome. So do you guys write all the music together? Is it one person who does main and then you guys all collaborate together, or how does all your music come together?
you know, it kind of depends. In some of the songs, you can kind of hear who the primary influence was, and we'll have ideas when we come in and kind of noodle around on them. But it really does build at practice, and we kind of come together and say, hey, you know what, we had this idea, and we'll start. We have a lot of idea. We have a whole idea board that's got 40 or 50 little snippets, you know,
Right.
10-second ideas, a little noodle or whatever, and we'll start pulling pieces together and kind of making this little tapestry of a song. And there's sometimes if something happens to be in the same key or like in the same neighborhood, we can kind of layer something else there, and it just
Right.
becomes this stack of pieces and parts. We'll go home, sleep on it, and then sometimes we'll get a text at 3 o'clock in the morning that says, damn you, I can't sleep, that's stupid, you know.
That's good. That's good.
And that's the earworm, right?
Right.
Every once in a while you hit on one of those, and then we kind of push all the other stuff back up onto the board and just take this one little piece and just keep expanding on it. And it kind of builds. It's not like a spider web, but it is kind of, there's a central piece that kind of builds out from there. And it doesn't always start with guitar licks. It doesn't always start with beats. I mean, it really depends on the song and kind of the space that we're in. There's stuff that we've hated, and we came back 2 weeks later and like, you remember that thing that we didn't really like? Let's try it again. And then suddenly something falls into
Right.
place, whether it was playing it slower or at a different key or something, and it just falls in. And we kind of try to test things of, is it familiar and accessible?
Right.
And you know, for a rock and roll band, you can't go too far out there.
Right.
So there are some training wheels on what we can do.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it's a good thing because people don't come to a show to have their like brains mashed and twisted, and there's places to go if you want to experience the avant-garde.
Right.
But if I go somewhere and somebody starts playing weird time signatures and stuff, unless I'm in the mood for that, I go outside.
Right.
So I don't have time for it.
Right. Right.
You know, I came to drink, I came to party.
Right.
You know, if there's girls there, I came to look at them too.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of things
Hopefully
that you
they're looking back.
hopefully not anymore. I've got kryptonite
Good answer.
now. Yeah,
Good answer.
kryptonite now.
Oh, stop it.
That's very recent, so I'm getting used to.
It's all good.
It's my force field.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You'll be good. I know that's why you get into it in the first place, right?
It was, but it backfired because I stayed single until I was like 40 years old, so it backfired.
It didn't backfire. You're married to the love of your life.
Now we have to catch up on making babies, you know, on the backswing of things.
No, you really don't. Just do what you want to do.
I want to teach a little baby to play drums.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
There's a lot of that out there. You know, you can go just about anywhere and teach a baby to play drums. Speaking of which, you know, Frankie Mariel opened up School of Rock out there in St. Peter's, which is a very cool way to pay it forward if you know his history. He's been around for a minute. So I think that's a pretty good idea. And he's always looking for musicians. So, I mean, you know, singers, bass players.
I don't need to be teaching anybody anything. I can barely learn.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just teach them how to get over the stage fright alone, you know, and I've tried to help people. I mean, everybody gets it. Sunglasses, you know, turn around backwards, turn
Hard
the lights
drugs.
off. Whatever, yeah, there you go. Hard drugs, there you go. Whatever, you know, I don't judge.
Send my kid home with a baggie of what I can only assume is no. It's cotton candy. It's fine.
So he's a little chronic. At least he doesn't have stage fright.
Right.
That's
Right.
all good.
Can't remember his lines, but
So what's the okay? So the first song we heard was "Disaster Master." Tell me about that song. And is there a story behind it, or did you just like the way it sounded?
so most of our stuff is kind of tongue in cheek because I don't have a deep well of personal tragedy to draw from. Like
Right.
I pretty much handle my business when I can.
Right. Right.
So we kind of come up with these more universal themes, and a lot of them it's nursery rhymes and Aesop's fables and Mother
Right.
Goose, and
Right.
so this one was it was a take on Hansel and Gretel, and the video kind of shows that too. It's
Right.
the being seduced away and kind of realizing in the moment that the person that's seducing you is doing so to a bad end.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, that feels good until it doesn't.
Right.
And I think we can all kind of relate to that, just being led to the dark side, and by the time you realize that it's starting to take its toll, it's probably too late to pull back.
Kind of like being a musician.
Kind of like being a musician. yeah, when the
But it's all good. We like the dark side.
when you get your credit card statement, I think last night I spent about $400 on cables. Like it just, oh yeah, we need a snake. Okay, what? How much does that get? Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, I guess we have a snake now.
Right.
So it you don't need to feed it, but
I know.
you can feed it a lot of rats for $400.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but you know, with
But you gotta have a snake.
with everything being digital now, all of our stuff changes, and us getting older, we just started to consolidate things down, and we did this 400-pound box, this rack thing that has all knobs and buttons in it. And it was
You're
getting
not a sound guy.
but it was getting to a point where at the end of the night we'd had to nominate 3 people to stay sober enough to load this thing in the
Right.
truck, and it was every bit of 400 pounds. And then we got to get back to the practice space and get up some stairs. I mean, it's a city, so there's stairs on more stairs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, your back can't take it at 2 in the afternoon, let alone 2 in the morning. So we're like consolidating everything down to the smallest possible footprint, and that just means tearing cables out and swapping things out and throwing money at it until it doesn't hurt your back anymore.
Right.
But we're getting there. That's been part of the exercise this week, so that's why we're
You wouldn't make it as a stagehand, would you?
No, I'm lazy. If it looks like hard work, I'm out.
You are a singer, aren't you? There's nothing wrong with that. Put out there, about a singer, watching everybody just, load in while he sits there on his throne, waiting, holding his microphone.
On the way here, I put the hat on, then I'm messing with my hair, and I realized that I'm going to be on the radio, and that there's less of a visual element.
Oh, there is visual.
Well, then it's very important that I fix
Yes,
this.
you're going to be on YouTube,
Yeah.
and this runs out to Facebook Live, and it's going to be all out there.
Oh, perfect.
Yes,
So
there's already comments, I'm sure. I haven't seen my phone yet, but they'll be out there. It's all good. It'll be fine. You're going to be
good
great.
thing I did it then.
Are you ready for your close-up? Tweezy has you right here. So his version is better. Mine's just straight on, just the 2 of us. But he has us in boxes, so you can actually see, close up.
I was trying to move this so I could see you.
It's all good. So the name of the band. You guys named yourself after a little record that you weren't even born when it was around. Why?
The 45 was not taken at the time.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't. I honestly, I wasn't.
That
I wasn't the
believe,
original.
because-
I wasn't the original founding member. So I think it's a lot of it comes down to what your expectations are when you have a band. If your band's called Decapitated, there's only so many. There's only so many directions you can go in. If it's random word, random number, that kind of pigeonholes you over here. So and so in the folk whatever banjo this it pigeonholes, but something like the 45 can kind of steer itself in many different directions, and it does link you to the past kind of instantly. We do a lot of World War II imagery. We kind of play around with that theme a lot, but the idea is that rock and roll has been around for a very long time, and it can put you in kind of this out of time frame of mind. The same songs from the 60s that we've heard, and people have covered them for 50 years, and it's because they have that sticky staying power. There's something about rock and roll that just grabs you in a way that other things can't.
Right.
I mean, I know that there's classical music out there that people use for certain things, and you just expect it in a movie. Okay, here's the part where they play this song, right?
Right.
And there's a place in, I think, every soundtrack of people's lives for rock and roll. And it doesn't matter what you listen to. There's always a time when you're just going to want to hear Back in Black.
Exactly.
You know, it belongs there.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of what we play with, even, at least now, with the whole 45 motif is just taking things out of the current time and just putting them in that. This could be from 20 years ago. It could be from 40 years ago. It's a rock song.
Right.
So we really tried, like I said earlier, we kind of pigeonhole ourselves a little bit, but we try not to incorporate too much of the here and now.
Not really, because I mean, if you think about, I mean, it's a cool name for your band. I mean, and where push comes to shove, you got a B-side.
It's true. That's very true.
Always a B-side. There's always going to be 2 songs, no matter what.
You know, and we actually do write them that way. Like, okay, this one's the B-side of this one, because it's got to sound similar.
Right.
It's got to be in the same key. It's got to be roughly the same tempo, but it can't be as good.
Right.
And it sucks to have to take your children and pick a favorite, but you have to.
Oh, no.
If you're grouping things together, it's got to be all killer, no filler, and you got to have one bastard child, you know, with the lazy eye, and then you have everybody's got one.
Yeah, but you always tell your kids, now you don't say that out loud, but you always say to your kids, like, I have 1 daughter and 2 sons. You're my favorite daughter. You're my favorite oldest son. You're my favorite youngest son. So that way, everybody's a favorite.
That's right.
You know, that way, you know, you don't hurt anybody's feelings.
My favorite little athlete. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Nothing wrong with that. So you're ready to have babies and teach. And
I think we're getting there.
Is
yeah.
your wife ready to have babies?
I think she was ready before I was.
Really?
Yeah. These things happen.
That's good. So do you have a regular JOB? You don't have to tell me where you work. Do you have a regular JOB, or is this your full-time job?
From time to time. I had my own companies for a while, and I consolidated down. We do a lot of real estate stuff. But yeah, no, I do a 9 to 5 most days now. It's I'm in the renewables industry, which is kind of a weird nebulous thing. So it's the brave new world. Solar power is the future, and that's what, whether people want it or not, solar power is the future.
It is the future.
And,
I just hate the people that keep calling me and texting me every 5 minutes. You need this, you need this, you need this. Because I don't know who's good and who's bad and who's just a shyster, because they are out there, believe it or not.
Do you need a new roof? If you don't need a new roof, don't get solar.
I don't know if I do.
Your roof is going to get holes and leak on its own. Why would you drill holes in it?
Right, exactly.
So
it's totally fine now. I'm fine with it.
And I'll tell you a secret that they're not going to tell you. When those guys call you and they come up with a plan for how to save you money, they always magically manage to save you $50 on your electrical bill.
Right.
But it doesn't count in for what the system actually costs or how much energy it makes. They just save you $50, and they won't tell you it's 30 years or 40 years. But the markup's about 5 times what you would pay for that versus what you would pay for something that's in the ground somewhere.
Right.
So the stuff that I work with mostly is in the ground, and it's these big football field size plants there for the utilities. And yeah, it's,
but yeah, those people who keep calling, it's like Ameren. There's one company that's tied with Ameren. They keep saying, "Oh, well, we work with Ameren." No, you don't. They just keep throwing that name in there. Ameren doesn't give a shit. They're going to still send you a bill, you know, whether you have the solar on there or not. So I don't understand why. And I almost got suckered into one of them one night. This is when I was married a few years ago, and they had me and my husband just sitting there on the edge of our chairs going, what? Huh? We're going to save what? And I looked at him and I went, wait a minute. Really? Ameren doesn't know anything about this. And I don't remember who the company was. This was a few years ago.
There's a short list. It's getting bigger. But a lot of them are just a pass-through entity anyway. They're just selling it. But it's, they work with Ameren the same way that I work with Quick Trip every time I get gas.
Right.
You go there and you figure out how much it costs and you get it and you get a bill for it.
Exactly.
But if you only have a number of places you can go to plug into, right? And with Ameren, they're kind of the only thing around. It's kind of wild. We're adopting the European model of things. We're getting there, kicking and screaming. But in Europe, everything's run by the state, right? So the government owns everything, so there's not a lot of red tape. And here it's complete opposite. So something that should take 6 months to do takes 2 or 3 years. And people figure it out over time. But
well, states are doing that too.
Yeah.
Like down in Memphis, I lived there for 12 years. And when I first moved down there from here, Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, it's all one company. No, it's a monopoly. It's one freaking company. You either get it there or you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like gas and water. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
One bill, one everything. I was like, what? No fighting with anybody. Nobody's gonna bother us. I mean, it was nuts. But here, it's, I don't know. How many other companies are there?
For Ameren, just Ameren.
No, I mean besides that, I mean it's not
Oh.
it's not like one.
I mean,
it's
the
not
sewers one, gas is one, and they keep changing the names of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, water and trash I think is together, and then sewer is its own. I don't know.
Depends on where you live.
And they send a yellow one, and then if you forget to pay it, they send another yellow one. They send a pink one, and the sewer folks send a white one, then a pink one, and then they'll send a nasty gram that says you didn't pay attention to the pink one, and now we're sending it to collections.
Right.
If your tenants don't pay, then you have to pay on their behalf, or they shut that off.
It's a
fun.
nightmare.
Yeah,
It
well,
really is. So
they
anyway.
do provide something though.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. So after your gig at Diamond, where are you guys going? What are you doing? Now that's not the first time you guys played there.
We've played there a bunch. They were they got everything going right before COVID. They
Right.
had just kicked everything off, and so we tried to play there as much as possible, kind of during everything. Limited audience, kind of doing all the safety stuff, and people running around with measuring tapes and jousting with them or whatever. But
that was bullshit.
but it is what it is.
But it's a cool stage. It's a cool load in. I like the venue. Topher and Johnny are super cool. And they started. I think it was during the COVID thing. They were getting more original bands in there, and you guys are playing with a bunch of other original bands. So this is your first headlining show, which is awesome. And so where are you going after this? You got other shows booked? Or?
We have some more stuff written that we're going to record as quickly as we can and get that mixed and ready to go. So we're trying to do 2 a year. Of course, it's hard to do when they have kids and things. But
kids and things.
we try to. I think we've got a couple things lined up for either end of February, beginning of March. We try to do like 8 weeks in between, and then we've always got opportunities in Columbia and a couple in Springfield that come around now and then. But they're still trying to open up, and they still move things around. And we'll get on a bill for something, and then we find out that one of the bands dropped due to COVID, and another band dropped because the other band dropped, and it's kind of this dominoes thing that we're leaves in the wind until people kind of start to fatigue from the fear. And some of it is, it's the show's a week out, and then we find out that they've locked the whole city down, they've closed venues, and it's so, and you try to plan a wedding during that, so but it's one of those things that
Right.
everybody's kind of in limbo. But we've been really, really lucky with the Diamond that they not only did they open and stay open, but when they started, the stage was about half the size as it was. The sound system was completely different. They didn't have the lights. Everything that they've added to that, it's some clubs, it's a shithole when it opens, and 20 years later it's like, oh, it's the same old shithole with the same speaker that you kicked with your foot and put a gouge in the corner of it, right? These guys have updated everything. Every time we go there, it's a different club, and every change has been for the better. They doubled the size of the stage so that you can
move.
Not only move, but get on and off quickly. If you got 4 or 5 bands, there's some clubs in town that shall remain unnamed that give you 5 minutes to get your shit and get out. And they're unkind about it, and they're impatient about it, and it makes for a hostile working environment. And you wouldn't do that in any other stage. Well, if you're going to do this many bands, and we're going to be pieces of shit about it, and we're going to remind you that it's your fault that you chose to bring a drum set. Shame on you. You should just bring a keyboard and press spacebar. Because that's really what they want. They just want to go on autopilot. They don't actually want to do their jobs. So, but that's one little sector, and they'll stay shitholes forever, right? But there's other places like Diamond that have done a tremendous job of accommodating the musicians. Not only what we want and need, but figuring out groups of bands to play together that make sense. That makes them a little bit of money, that makes us a little bit of exposure, and sometimes a little bit of money, which is good. They've been great about providing dedicated space for merch. They've got the Heaven and Hell bar theme thing, which is really cool. So you get like your peppermint over here and your fireball over there, and if you mix them, you die. Are you sure?
Yes, I've done it.
Okay. I have not, I'm afraid.
When they first started that, it was like Topher's like, try this, try this, try this. I'm like, But yeah.
So what we were trying to figure out, and we were doing this with very rudimentary measuring. I think we had one cable that we were trying to figure out. There's a space in between the Heaven and Hell, right? and there should be one exact middle spot that's purgatory. And that should theoretically be where you stand. That's the right spot to stand in. That should be
Should be
the perfect spot.
But purgatory's not there. It's it's on the other side.
Right. And that didn't make sense to me.
But it still makes a triangle.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Think about it.
Yeah, I guess it does. But you would think it would be equidistant.
Well, no, because then it'll be off balance. They got to make a triangle to make it even.
Okay, I hadn't thought about it like that.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Because that way, no matter what corner you're in, you're going to be somewhere. You're going to be heaven, hell, or in purgatory. You're going to be in one of those 4 places, or one of those 3 places. Think about it. Unless you're in the middle of the stage, then you're just somewhere in between all of it.
You're in the ether.
That's right. So, yeah,
I really like it out there. I mean, stupid shit like being able to park.
Mhm.
Imagine that. Being able to park for free. Being able to park, close to the venue and not 3 blocks away. And
well, especially with loading. I mean, you can park right up there at the door
Yeah.
and roll your stuff right in. So
and the neighbors don't care.
the neighbors don't care.
We played at again a place that will remain nameless, and they had a noise meter, and I don't think they understood or had it set properly.
What?
90 decibels. Okay, the cars driving by outside were louder than that.
A noise meter.
Not only a noise meter, but they had it set wrong. So we were.
They did not have it then.
Don't have a rock and roll band. You knew what we were. That's
Right.
the frog and the scorpion, right? You knew what
Right.
I was when you let me in
Right.
the door.
Right.
And I felt really bad because we'd asked our sound guy to bring his full kit. And he's like, how many subs do you think I should bring? And I said, how many do you have?
No. Unless he's doing a concert outside, never say how many do you have, because they will bring the whole freaking gamut. Trust me, I know this.
Well, I think I sent yes, please. How many subs? Yes, please. Are you Jimmy John's? No, then send the lot. He was actually freaky fast at getting that stuff in and out. They've come a long way with the boxes and the handles and everything.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
He was all set up in the time it took us to get the drums all put together. So, but yeah,
Yes.
just going back to the original point, that Diamond there's a little secret sauce there that comes with listening to your musicians and kind of not just thinking about the bottom line, but also thinking about the musicians, the fans, and just the overall experience. I mean, it's everybody that we've ever invited to a show out there, and whether we played or just went out to party, has come away saying, I really like that place.
Yeah, well, the sound guy, Brian Longo, you can't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's amazing. I mean, he's put sound. He's got sound at Brewski's. He's had sound at there was a place called Kirkwood Brewing Station. It's no longer there anymore. But I mean, his sound system is bar none one of the best, and he's super cool and easy to work with. He doesn't get excited. He's not a screamer. I mean, and he pays attention. He's a musician too, so it helps. Johnny's a musician. Topher's a musician. That totally helps. And then there's so many musicians that do play on that stage that have their input has been listened to, and they've modified and made it a lot easier and more user friendly for everybody. So, which is very cool.
You got to get 4 or 5 bands on and all their equipment and all their mics and inputs, and everybody has the in-ear monitors now, and so those have to be hooked up separately, and it's a whole extra layer of extra effort.
A lot of them.
But what's cool now is it's like once you get done with the show, you can just hit save, and the next time that band comes back, you just go, where was the 40? Okay, there they are.
Right, exactly.
Super cool.
Especially with videos. If you've got videos that are showing behind you, if you let them have that information, they can definitely replay it for you on the screen. So that's really cool. And then there's a band you've heard of, Throw the Horns. Craig Bosworth, their drummer, he's got the drums on the rack. Literally on a rack. I mean, it is a monster of a set, and the sound is so much. It's more beefier when you hear the drums off the ground play, and he's got it precise. In other words, each drum has got its own. He's put their own mic in it, so it's just a plug and play when he sets his kit up. But they're all on in-ears, and he hooked everything up. They have their own board. They have their own little, and so it's super easy. And if musicians could make that easier on their end, when they go into a venue that they've not played before, it makes it easier on the sound guy. It's a give and take kind of thing. And then there are some that don't.
Well, that's where you have to make the argument for spending $400 on cables.
There you go.
It's if we're gonna play somewhere, there is an industry standard way to do things. I may not like it, But there is a way to do things,
Mhm.
and a way not to. And when you see guys with a little pedal with a little cable coming out of it, and it goes somewhere, and then goes somewhere else, and then they've got a little Fisher Price whatever. It's like, guys, you're in your 30s. I know you've been doing this for a minute because it sounds good, but there's got to be an easier way than that.
Right.
Not the smartest guy, but that doesn't look right.
Well, it is what it is, and some of the old school guys don't even like in-ears. They can't get to it, and that's all good too. I mean, it works. Every band is different, and every concoction is different. However, they may make their sound work. So it's all good.
It's funny for bands to have glory stories of a venue because it's usually horror stories. It's usually, oh, you don't want to work with so and so. But we've had such a good experience at Diamonds. It's if I had my druthers and I could kind of like copy paste that into every city in the country, I would just in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
They're doing it right. And it's not to take anything away from other venues that we've played at that we've enjoyed, but they're doing things a little different, and it shows. I think, and that area especially I think is underserved. Just the size of shows that they can have. You're not in the back room of a restaurant. You're not. It's not like that thing you do where they're kind of serving pizza and then
Right.
walking past. There's no puppet shows. There's no.
Right.
They don't have a stand-up comic opening. Usually it's just it's a rock show.
Right, exactly. But yeah, they've had some pretty big shows there, and it's a great venue for the bigger shows for sure, especially on being inside.
Yeah.
Because the amphitheater, it's freaking cold. It's too cold. I mean, the season's just not there right now. I worked that show. The Pageant is a badass venue, but there's so many restrictions now with COVID. I mean, it is pretty much just so put the kibosh on so many different venues and who does what.
Well, I think
And people are just scared.
I think too, it's you look at the staffing of some of those places and just how much it takes to run a venue, and so the ticket prices end up being crazy high, and no one wants to spend $30 to see a local band if they can, go down the street for $8 and, drink $5 beers or $4 beers instead of 12.
Right.
Exactly. It's for a lot of people, especially right now. It's been rough for people the last couple of years, and they're trying to save wherever they can. So,
Right.
The word drink special carries a much heavier weight than it used to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Free show actually means something good instead of something bad. It's like, okay, what's the catch if it's free show? Are you trying to sell me multi-level marketing or?
I don't need any solar panels.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Nothing's
keep
ever
those.
free.
Have you guys have you done the red flag thing?
We have.
And
We've played there
you played there.
a couple times. Yeah.
They've got,
we've done it.
I like the newer venue, but I still love Foo Bar. I'm a Foo Bar chick. I mean, I love that venue from way back. It's not there anymore, I know, but still, it was definitely one of a kind venue for sure.
The new Red Flag is a beautiful room.
It's a cool venue. I like the stage. I like the whole openness of it. I don't like the Nazi they have running around screaming, "Put your mask on, put your mask on," But it is what it is.
I don't know that they can help that, and I think Foo Bar kind of does that punk rock thing on purpose, right? It's like those bars that you go to where they're rude on purpose and it's funny for them.
I guess.
Now, if you know when you're going in that that's what you can expect is for everyone to be an asshole on purpose, then it's a good thing, right? But at least put a sign outside.
Right.
And it's fine, but put a sign outside.
Assholes in here, be warned.
We're doing it on purpose. We think it's cute. Play along or else.
I don't like
Fair.
the pay or play kind of thing. I don't like the way they do that to the bands where you're expected to sell so many tickets, and if you don't, you owe the venue the money, and they're still charging at the door.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair to some of the newer up and coming bands who are so excited just to play. Because back in the day, Foo Bar didn't do that; they just let you play. And I just
And that's chicken and egg too, though, right? There's
Yeah.
groups that should probably pay to play because if they can't get anybody to show up, if they can't even drag your friends out to see it, then
Right.
it's costing the venue money to keep the lights on. I get that.
for sure.
Get a couple bands that network, be in the crowd for some shows of bands that you like, talk to them, give them your CD. You should have a CD. You got to pay your dues, and
Right,
if you
definitely.
can't, then you got to buy your way onto stage. But when it comes into buying your way in, selling for battles and things like that, I think that's kind of going by the wayside. I think it has to.
Yeah.
Especially now when you're not looking at filling as many butts and chairs as you can. It's more
Right.
about putting a quality show together because people have other ways to get entertainment.
Definitely.
Especially with COVID, people there's a lot of people that I know that don't even want to leave their house.
No.
Well, hey, I bought a nicer house. I'm going to have a pool party. I'm not going to go outside.
Right.
So if you can bring the party to you, I think it makes it a lot harder too. I think there's folks that are by necessity that we're starting to do garage shows again and kind of pushing things back into that underground. So when that happens, venues have to get a little more creative, and I feel bad for the guys that are pushing up against these regulations that change every week.
Right.
We want to have a show because it's going to take us at least 100 people here in order to break even for the month.
Right.
You can only book 2 or 3 shows. Meanwhile, there are places that are doing mega events with 20, 30,000 people, and they seem to be fine. I mean, they did Lollapalooza and nobody died that I know of. It would have been in the news. I don't think they did. I don't think they did.
No.
I think a couple people got sick, but whatever. Out of 30,000 or 40,000, so.
Right.
But when you're trying to have 40 people in a venue that's got 20 staff, the numbers don't work.
Right.
So, I get it. But yeah, it's not the optimal way to go about, and I think these smaller places and the places that kind of know they have a dedicated niche, if you can put a good show together with bands that fit together, everybody makes new fans and new friends. If you already like the same music and you don't know the people, you have that thing in common.
Definitely.
St. Louis is not a small town, but it has that small town gravity where everybody kind of figures out within 2 or 3 degrees how they know somebody, and just watching that kind of coalesce throughout the course of a rock show. I always joke about like people that meet their true love like backstage or out in the smoking patio or whatever, because they find out that not only do they like all the same bands, but this one dated this one's cousin, and they both
6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, and it's St. Louis, so it's like 2. But
Right.
that magic happens, and only music, I think, gives, or live music especially, gives the opportunity for that. I can't think of, nobody went to a ballet and liked it,
Right, I hear you. I know.
It's nice to meet you too.
Yeah, right.
Rather a charming number. And I always pick on sporting events too, because it's like, could you imagine if we treated concerts like a sporting event, and
Sometimes we do. It depends on how much you've had to drink, and is
Well,
there a mosh pit?
the other way around. I mean from a performance.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember from a performance standpoint.
Right.
Like if I went up and practiced the solo 4 or 5 times, and then we tried to play the song, and then we stopped and we had a timeout, and then we practiced the solo some more. And you could go and say, dude, how good did we play that solo last night?
It's called jam night.
Yeah, but you don't charge
It's called
people.
jam night.
But you don't charge people to
No,
take practice
no.
swings,
Right,
right?
no,
So, and if we played the song 25% of the way there, we'd be a Hall of Famer, right? But you can't do that live.
No.
You got to be tight. You got to bring it all. If you break a string, everybody makes fun of you.
Right.
You don't just get to call a mulligan and
Right.
send in the relief squad.
But then again, that depends on how good you are, because I've seen strings break and they keep playing. They keep playing
Yes,
and get all the way
yes.
through, and then everybody applauds because they kept playing with a broken string. See, so yeah, it's a total. What the hell is that? It's a total. Yeah, it totally works. So it's a surprise and a surprise.
It is fun.
It
It's,
is fun.
And then you realize that you have to have backups of everything, and you kind of evolve into that too. And then it's well, this song's in a different key. I could tune it, or I could just buy another guitar. Why would I not just buy another?
Why not? Because you can never have enough guitars.
Well, this one, it's a little too bottom endy for this song. So I just need another guitar. I know there's buttons on this that I can push that would probably change. There's another knob over there, but I could just buy another guitar. It's fine.
Buy another guitar and at least 4 more pedals,
Yes.
because they all have to go together. You can never have enough pedals either.
Well, and they have the digital ones now that's all pedals in one, but that's kind of cheating.
It is cheating. I mean, if you're not stomping your foot on the floor, because the pedal you want, then forget it.
So Disaster that you heard earlier, we re-recorded some of the guitar parts, and there were they had this thing called a Kemper that's got like every tone that's ever been created, and they run it through this machine that listens to it and recreates it and has all the knobs, all of them. We're going through and I'm looking for the sound that I like, and finally found one, and then we went past it, and then we went back to it 2 or 3 times, and that was the one that I kept centering in on. And it was just called Mesa Red Channel,
Okay.
which is literally just the stock amp that everybody
Right.
has laying around somewhere. Just push it on channel 3 and turn all the knobs to 12 o'clock and go.
Right.
It's the most, basically generic, whatever, but that's what I wanted. It's what sounds like a guitar to me. It's and I remember buying that stupid amp and going through Guitar Center and plugging into every single thing that was there, and avoiding specifically the Mesa Boogie because everybody had one. And Went
And-
through and you turning everything and doing all the torturing that I could to get a certain sound that was in my stupid noggin.
Uh-huh.
Finally giving up and going and plugging into this thing, putting all the knobs at noon, turn it on, and it was like, well, okay, I guess I'm getting that.
Right.
So it's sometimes it's just that simple, the one piece, and that's the rock and roll aspect, right?
Right,
Just
right,
throw all the
exactly.
pedals away.
I always tell, when the guys are coming up like for jam night, speaking of jam nights, you guys should come out to Parrots on Wednesday night, the only night that has a jam night.
Jam night.
Parrots in St. Peter's. I host an open jam this week. We've got Kristen Connor, Matt Williams. Let's see, who's my drummer? Oh, my drummer is Brad Murphy, and then my bass player is going to be Bobby Keaton. So yeah, it's a killer open jam at Parrots in St. Peter's. Anyway, so and I've seen pedal boards. Mark Crowell has a huge pedal board. I'm like, don't you just need 3? You need stop and go and wah-wah. That's
More.
all you need.
You need
and
more.
wah-wah.
Yeah.
No, we need 14,000 pedals, one for each thing, but whatever. Whatever makes them happy.
I was recently told that I have to mute to tune, and I don't like that because I can't hear it. I can tune by ear, but I can't. The little thing tells me to go up or down. I can't do that. It doesn't work. And every time I try, and I'll turn the thing back on, it's wrong. So at a certain point, it's like you stop trusting the machine. You got these 2 things. It's music.
Right.
You can hear it.
You can hear it.
And I can stop in the middle of the song and make a little tweak, and it's fine. But
Right.
pushing the thing, and it's just, yeah. I guess I'm not a visual learner.
Well, that's all right. But sometimes you don't have a choice. But then again, it just depends on how long you've been playing. My dad was that way. He could always hear better than he could visually see. But then he didn't have the visual when we were kids. It was all by ear. Man had perfect pitch. Amazed me. Broken strings or not, he's like, oh no, that's wrong. And he could tune anything, string anything, and play it. It was amazing.
It's funny too, and Dave and I geek out on this stuff too, with Pro Tools and all the stuff. You look at the waveform and you're like, okay, well that's real small. We should make that bigger. Why? Well, because it's supposed to be louder. And that's always my argument. Make it as loud as it goes.
Right.
It's rock and roll. Make it louder. He's
Right.
like, well, it's probably the fidelity of the bit rate, whatever. I'm like, make it louder. Well, you don't need to peg the meters. It's digital. It's not analog. It doesn't need to go red every time. But if it's red, it's loud enough. If it's not, the red is there to let you know that you're rocking.
Right.
If you don't see the red, how do you know that it's loud enough? It's not loud enough.
If it's too loud, you're too old. Is
Well,
that basically it?
You got another one to turn it down, but you shouldn't have to use that one. You only need one.
You are the singer. Nothing wrong with that.
No, we're on a minimalism kick at home because we're getting ready to move, so we've been throwing stuff out, and it's kind of that, if it still has the tags on it, it goes.
Right.
If it's something that was not made since 1991 and it wasn't worth much in 1991,
Well, you still got to check and make sure it's still not worth something.
if I ever buy a boat, it'll be a good anchor. In the meantime, it has a little light that blinks. So, what am I supposed to do with that?
I use that mentality with if it's heavy enough to sit in the back of my truck, I won't slide on the ice.
Right. Right.
It's a big paperweight.
Well, we have all the boxes of all the gear we bought. Like, at a certain point, it's
Right.
out of warranty and no one cares.
Uh-huh.
Am I not going to buy something off of eBay because it doesn't come with the box? No, I don't care. I'm not going to give them an extra $10 to take. Then I got to take it out of the box. But just throw that shit out. So for everything that she throws out, I'm like, but this is just, it's a box of boxes. What do we need this for? She's like,
Right.
what about your box of boxes? Ah, shit, you're right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's different then, isn't it? Yeah.
But that one says Marshall on it. It's got stickers in it. That box is important.
That's right.
But it does.
Because it says Marshall.
When you start digging through and
Build a
finding
wall.
broken mic stands and just random debris that just collects over time and just becomes part of the luggage that comes along with a musician.
Right.
They don't ever tell you, like, if you're going to date a musician, that you're going to inherit all of his baggage,
That's
that
why I
your
don't date
basement is going to be
musicians.
full of just random shit. What is this? It's a speaker cabinet with no speakers in it. Well, what do I do with that?
Oh, I might need that cabinet someday. I might need that.
We could put lights in it, and it'll be super cool.
We can also put dirt in it.
Put dirt in it and bury your musician with it. Yeah.
It can also hold the bottom of the dumpster down. Here, watch this.
Well, there was a time when it made sense to get 10 of them and put lights in them and put them behind us, and it was going to be super cool.
And they're still doing that.
But now you can just do a video wall that looks like a bunch of cabinets and save your back.
Exactly. How about
And
that?
not have to rent a panel truck to take it. So.
It's amazing, you know. You have the whole pie in the sky. Oh my God, we can't throw anything away. Oh, jeez. I've had more musicians dump more shit on me. Hey, can you donate this for me? Can you donate? One guy gave me a bucket. Actually, it was a trash can full of bits and parts and broken pieces from a drum set.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I gonna do with this shit?
Well, you know, you can't just buy one screw. You got to buy the whole assembly, and they charge you $25 for it.
Oh
So
my God. It was ridiculous.
but it's the mental gymnastics of I can't possibly throw this thing away until you just take the whole thing and go.
Right.
I don't know where this came from. Somebody probably could use it, but I've long since sold the thing. Well, are you going to call them and tell them you need the thing, or did they buy one on eBay? So, it gets to a point, and if I can't even find the manual for it online, or if I go on, there's all the websites that are like, you look it up and they're like, oh, that thing was a piece of shit when it was new. Well, thanks. That was kind of my signature tone for like 10 years.
I've been saving this for now, and you're telling me it's still a piece of shit.
Well, the Rockman, you know what the Rockman is? It's this little box that's about yay big. It was made to be like a belt headphone amplifier for guitars, but it is the sound of like the Boston's first record, Pour Some Sugar on Me, that entire Def Leppard record.
Yeah.
That sound of the guitars came from this stupid little box. It wasn't from a giant stack of amps. It was from this little box, not much bigger than our phones, that was called the Rockman.
Shit.
He just invented this thing.
Wow.
And one of the settings on it, this is the standard setting, has reverb and delay and a chorus and a bunch of other shit on it. And you can turn one or the other off, but not both. It's got to have all this shit piled on it, and that was the standard setting.
Really?
But if somebody plugs a guitar into that thing and plays it, you're like, oh yeah, it's Boston. Oh yeah, it's Def Leppard. It's this immediate, it doesn't matter what you plug into it. It just sounds like that. They're worth, even adjusted for inflation, they're worth now what they were worth new. And some of them are, a lot more just because they didn't make that many of them.
Right.
But they were very much sought after for that kind of 80s, that specific tone.
How much were they worth? How much were they worth?
You can probably get one for under $600 now, but I think they were
Really?
they were probably around $200 or $300 new.
Wow. So if
Right.
you wanted to sound like either one of those two bands, that's what you needed.
You could sit there with a whole can of worms, or you could just buy this one little thing. Yeah, and it has a it has a second jack on it so that you could plug your friend's guitar, or you could plug your favorite record in and listen to it.
Really?
It was just this stupid little box. Yeah, little blue box.
Huh.
But it defined that whole sound. And as soon as you hear it, you'll recognize it, and you start hearing it in other records. You go, oh yeah, of course, that's the Rockman. There's nothing like it.
That is amazing. And do you still have yours?
I don't have one. I wish I did.
What? I can't believe it.
Well, if you get the Kemper thing, see, the Kemper makes one that sounds like it.
Yeah, but it's not the Rockman box.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's bizarre, the little pieces of things like that kind of define a certain sound, and you go chasing after them, and then you find out at the end of it that it was some cheapy little fuzz pedal or something.
Right. Exactly.
And then once you hear that sound and you play it through, you're like, oh, well, that's this song, and that's this song, and that's this song, and then somebody comes back from the smoke break and goes, what are you screwing around with? And then they start playing songs with that same, and pretty soon you're writing something that sounds like that pedal.
Right.
Because every chord progression that you've heard growing up that goes through that same path ends up sounding a certain way, regardless of what you do to it.
Right.
And like, oh, well, this is going to be a Smashing Pumpkins song because that's the only place this could go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that little distinction that those tones make. And
That's amazing.
We get stuck in that sometimes. Of like, no, that sounds too much like, well, this is going to be a Kiss song. There's no way around it. and I think I found that there are two very distinct camps. There's a yes and a no to Kiss, and it's if they say no, it's a hard no.
Right.
And the people that are yes, it's a very vehement yes, and there's no area in between.
Mm-mm.
It's fair to say that there was a lot of filler, but don't say that to a big time Kiss fan. They don't want to hear it. There was.
I know it was. I do. I hear more either hate or love with Kiss fans. It's either you love them or you hate them. There's no happy medium. I'm a happy medium kind of person. I liked them. Some songs weren't my favorite, but I didn't hate them. But there are some people that are just. My sister's that way. I bought her all the dolls. I bought her all the collectibles, the albums, the whole 9 yards. She was a Kiss freak. But some people just don't say anything bad about them ever. They will go at your throat.
It's fierce.
It is.
It's yeah.
It is.
You killed their dog. You stole their girlfriend. Like
I know. Some people are just like that. It's just the way it is.
The band thing was secondary. They were just selling merchandise. So they had a cool thing going.
They had a great gimmick. I mean, there was nobody else like them out there like that, and it was great. I mean, and they still do. They still have quite a following. Gene Simmons is quite the entrepreneur. I mean, he really had. He's always inventing and creating, and he was just he was definitely the brainchild behind all that stuff.
Such a nice guy too.
He's
just,
an
such a
asshole
sweetheart.
from the word go. I mean, Gene, you're a giant asshole.
I've heard
No.
nothing but good things. I don't know what
You're
you
a
mean.
liar. Stop it. You can be a Kiss fan, but we already know what a dick he is. Oh my God.
But and that's the line you toe too. Like, do we really want to associate ourselves? Do we want to put ourselves in that bucket, or can we, can we try a different pedal? So, and then it stops sounding like a Kiss song.
Mhm.
It's that easy. You slow it down a little bit, speed it up, change the key, and suddenly it goes a different direction. But that's those little subtle changes, and I like tribute bands that can do that kind of. Have you ever heard of the Postmodern Jukebox?
Mm-mm.
It's I forget what the guy's name is, but it's somebody's postmodern jukebox.
Okay.
But it's hundreds of songs, and it's all pop music, but it's done in like that old timey lounge,
Right.
like you would expect it to be, smoky and
Right, right.
Jessica Rabbit kind of walking
Right, right,
through,
right.
But it's great, like dinner music.
Mhm.
But they do things like "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and it's just like in the lights out. It's less dangerous.
Sounds awesome.
Here we are now, entertain us. And it's like, it's cheesy, but seeing these songs that you remember, that you could, that they're in that part of your mind where you know every single part of them, and I grew up playing all that stuff.
Right.
And to hear this complete reimagining of it, that's just now a totally different set of instruments.
Mhm.
The voices, the words take on a new meaning. It takes you on a different journey,
Mhm.
but it still has the same impact because it's a good song.
Right. Right.
And I think that being able to ring those things through, like the songs that can't be covered,
Mhm.
maybe it's not that good of a song.
Maybe not, or people just don't want to tackle it because
Right.
of the different intricate parts with it. Some people you got to look at keyboard. If there's a keyboard in it, some people don't want to cover it. Have you seen the band Retro Nerds?
Mm-mm.
They're a local band. Jason Nelson is the head guy on that band. Oh my God, they dress up like nerds, and they literally show the old '80s videos and do their songs to the videos.
Oh, that's fun.
They sync them up, so they're not lip syncing. They're literally singing and playing and doing the whole thing. But
Over
I
the
mean,
video.
it is just like that, and it's all '80s stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
They're freaking hilarious.
That's really fun.
Yes, they're a lot of fun.
But so are they in on the joke, or are they doing it straight?
Oh no, they're
They're in on the joke.
oh yeah.
Even better.
Oh yeah, it's even better. And Jason he he hosts the open jam at Diamond on Thursday nights, and he's also does a Queen tribute that's amazing. He's got a voice like wow, you wouldn't believe it. He also does let me think. Oh, they just did a gosh dang it, it's gonna come to me. I can't think of who it is. They just did it. But he is these four guys, Jim Crosby. I can't think of the other two, but they're very talented and they do a lot of tribute bands. But I mean, they do it right on, spot on, exactly. They don't screw around. And to me, that's the way. If you're gonna do a tribute band, that's the way you should do it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, they were in here one night. They're just hilarious. Just too much fun. They brought me a pair of glasses that had the tape in the middle.
I think it's really cool too when you get and I've in a past life, when we're talking 15, 20 years ago, made a good amount of money doing covers. I mean, you really can.
People like it.
And they can relate to it, and it's telling what gets played in between the sets, and that to me, if someone goes over and puts a bunch of money in because they want to hear something that bad that you didn't play, then maybe you should play it next time, right? But the whole tribute thing, it's tough for musicians 'cause it's one thing to be good and to be able to do all that and to make it sound right, but you kind of have to set your ego aside, and the ego becomes doing it perfect.
Yes.
Right? There is nothing in between with those. And I've seen a lot of groups where they have to hand off this part to this other person or whatever. They bring someone else in for that one song because it's what the song needs or deserves. the singer goes back and plays drums, and this one comes forward, and they
Right.
rearrange
Right.
because they know what's best for the song. And I think that's it. The ability to step back from themselves and say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and you can do that, and being able to do it is spectacular. But there's a lot of people that they can do their one thing very well,
Right.
and you try to get them outside of that, or try to get them to do, can you do this but in the style of do it again but better?
Right.
And they have a hard time with it.
Oh, they do. And there was one tribute band, and it was a mishmash of 3 different artists, and it was called Petty Cash Junction. Did you ever hear them?
Mm-hmm.
With Jimmy Griffin doing all the Tom Petty parts, David Cowles was doing all the Johnny Cash parts, and then what's her name? Like an idiot. She was an Elizabeth Einstein. She did all June Carter, and she did the Stevie Nicks. And so between the 3 of them, because of their talents, all 3 of those artists were in this one band.
Mhm.
I mean, it was an amazing show. You've seen it.
I've seen YouTube
You
clips.
saw the YouTube?
I haven't seen the live.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not together anymore because, Jimmy's busy with El Monstero and his projects. He's got an original band called The Incurables, amongst the other stuff that he's had in the past, which is, he's amazing. If you ever talk to Jimmy, he's quite the guitar player. He's a unique character. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world. You can't get any more real than Jimmy Griffin, for sure. But all of them have different projects that they're in, and they're just all talented. The guy who played keys in their band was John Gore. He does the Elton John tribute, the ultimate Elton John tribute, Dogs of Society.
Aren't they playing soon at
Yes,
Diamond, I think, or already did?
If you haven't seen that show, you've got to see that show. John Gore is, holy shit. I mean, he definitely channels Elton John. I mean, he's just amazing. If you haven't seen the whole costume, the glasses, the whole 9 yards. Yes. And he's on those freaking keys like you wouldn't believe. He's amazing.
I'm trying to think of the 2 or 3 times that I tried to play a Halloween show in costume and just the nightmare that it was. I have the utmost respect for people that can do.
Exactly. I think the
full
same thing. I'm
theatrics.
like, gosh, because I've seen them backstage when they get dressed in these outfits, and I'm like, God, how the hell can you do it? Like the retro nerds, when they get out there jumping around, it's silly. I mean, they've got full suits on, and all kinds of crazy garb going on their, whatever they're wearing. And you're right, it is. It's hard to do. I can't imagine. It's hot enough up there on that stage.
And getting in character and staying in character, because you can't. It's not enough to just play the parts right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a tribute act, you perform as that group.
Mm-hmm.
Pink Floyd. There's a whole extra stage element
That
that comes
whole
in behind
El
it, right?
Monstero show is that show is amazing, and I'm kind of burnt out on Pink Floyd. I mean, I blew up all my 8 tracks forever. This was 100 years ago. But I mean, when they brought El Monstero out and started doing that show, it was just a couple nights. Now that it's 8 nights, and and they just keep doing it. And that one during Christmas, that 1 week that they play, that 8 nights now, they make enough money on that one show more than they would play if they played the whole year. I mean, it's amazing the amount of people. And what's so cool about it are the legacies, or the kids who still carry it on. My nieces who are in their like 20s, they still like to go and see the show. The first time they saw it was a few years ago, and the kids who still want to keep the Pink Floyd going, and that's what's going to keep it going, which is amazing, because we always want our music to keep going. We want the legacies to carry it on, even if you don't play, so. But unfortunately, with the covers, we need more originals to make more covers, right?
Well, the original stuff needs to be good.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of people that do the high theatrical stuff and all the pyrotechnics, but I'd rather watch Paul McCartney play Hey Jude for the 6,000th time than watching one of the newer pop bands with 33 people all dressed in black playing all the synthesizer parts, and he's just sitting up there banging on a giant bass drum. Who cares?
Right.
That's not interesting to me.
Right.
Like, yes, you have a giant bass drum. That was neat the first 2 times. Put the gimmick away. No one cares. They'll still sell a lot of tickets because I guess some people just, they like that sort of thing.
Right.
But people also like Justin Bieber. I don't understand that either.
Don't get me started.
But
We don't have enough time.
But the reason that an El
Talk about that
Monstero
guy.
can succeed is not only do they have the power of that great music behind, but they're putting the time and the effort and the imagination into creating these really high concepts, and they have all the auxiliary folks that come out there with their costumes and do the dance routines. I mean, there's so much time that goes, months of planning that go into all of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they're putting the same amount of effort in as the original group is, and they deserve those accolades. It's a shame that they only do 8 nights, but it's probably better that you concentrate it all down and people wait for another year to see, and you have that time to really put into creating a good show the next time around.
Oh, definitely. I know they do it in the summertime. I don't think they do it for a complete week, but I think they do a few nights in the summer. And yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so special, is just that alone. But it is definitely an amazing show. David Gilmour himself, I remember when this happened, it was about 10 years ago. He has seen El Monstero and has blessed it. He said, man, you guys, I mean, if David Gilmour himself comes down and says, you guys are doing a great job, that is something for someone to come down and say that, you know, especially him. It's his freaking band, for fuck's sake, you know. And he,
don't tell Roger that.
I mean, you can't touch that. You cannot touch that. Definitely. So that's kind of cool. That was definitely a cool thing. I don't think that's happened to anybody that I know of. You know, it's in a tribute band where the actual owner says, yeah, you guys are great.
That happened to Theory of a Dead Man. That was how they got started.
Oh, right. I forgot. My bad.
They were the Nickelback.
Right.
Nickelback Light.
Nickelback Light. What? You're not going to talk bad about Nickelback, are you?
Now there you go. So there's.
I love that band.
If you have some songs that are not as good, you can give them to your own tribute band and have them open for you.
Yes.
That's pretty smart.
Yes.
No, they did great in their own mind, or in their own vein, and kind of branched out a little bit. If the handful of tracks that made it on the radio were not the best showing that they had some really cool songs too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Actually, kind of like Theory of a Dead Man better. They're a little more raw.
Yeah.
There's some other groups that are kind of in that same vein that have popped up that have been pretty enjoyable, I think, in the last 5 years or so. There's so much music now that doesn't bubble up past a certain point.
Right.
It gets into Spotify, into certain playlists. If you're discovering the right things, you know, it pops up, or if you're in YouTube's algorithm or whatever. I use all the little privacy blocker, you know, things that keep me anonymous, whatever. The only bad thing about that is it doesn't figure out what you like.
Right.
Which is good and bad. Like Pandora used to be really good about sending you in a certain direction.
And I love that. Now it's more commercials. Oh.
Yeah, and it's if you like the same stuff on each channel because you like to hear it, then pretty soon all your channels start to converge upon a certain list of things. It is interesting though if you share somebody's, you know, if you look at their Pandora or their recently played or whatever, it tells you a lot about them. And it's interesting too. It somewhere out there these analytics exist, but I don't know how you as a consumer would activate them, but they can see when you listen to certain types of music, and they can make, you know, suggestions based on, oh, it's time to chill.
Right.
Like, are you ready to relax? You know,
Right,
it's bubble bath time. Let's go ahead and put this on.
I know.
You know, oh, it must be date night.
It's so annoying. Oh, I don't like them to assume that, you know, it's one thing or another. But when Pandora first came out, I remember this, and it was so cool. You could pick out the songs you liked, and then they would say, since you like this one, your tastes are similar in this, which was great because I want to listen to Seether, I want to listen to you know, Nickelback, I want to listen to Alice Cooper, throw it all in there. But because my range is like from jazz to rock and roll to blues, whatever, I had all kinds of different aspects in there. But it was cool because it would lump them together, which was all right. But I like it all mishmashed. I like to listen to one or two different songs at a time.
And it doesn't know how to do that.
It doesn't know how to do that.
It can't just give you a grab bag.
No, it doesn't. Even when you say mix them up, it still wants to go down one path. So then I have to say, okay, stop. We're going to start here.
And 3 more ads.
I like the 70s stuff,
Yeah.
or, you know, I want, you know, psychedelic here, or I want country here, or whatever. So.
What's wild though is because they started, and I don't know if they ever really had it, but they said they had this whole algorithm that would listen to whether it was in a major or a minor or it's whatever tempos, and it would have all these tags of what made the song its song. Oh, this one has heavy guitars. This one has loud drums. Like it just all these little characteristics of the little descriptors that a music critic would use, you know, to describe that song, and they would lump them together that way. Now, I don't know if all that metadata is still in use or if they've got enough people using it now that it's like, oh, if you like this, most people that like this also like this, and it kind of chains it together.
Oh.
So I don't know if they're still using that original from like 10 years ago or whenever, when they were pointing to things based on the actual musical characteristics.
Right.
Because that was where bands like Greta Van Fleet, which is Led Zeppelin but not, you could play one of their songs right after, and you wouldn't turn and look and pay. You wouldn't think it wasn't on the record, right? No, I haven't heard this one before.
Right.
But that's what Pandora does well, right? Is they would throw that right into the mix, and you wouldn't notice that you changed because you're not changing. You're in that same
Right.
realm.
That same realm.
If you're looking to explore the depth of a certain genre, there's bands that I hear from time to time that are just a little bit different, or they've got brass. The 80s used to have tons of brass and saxophone and all this. It was such a cool layer to add. And that went away. It's not cool anymore. But there are some bands out there that still sneak some horn stuff in now and then.
Oh no, it's still cool. Jeremiah Johnson, if you've ever listened to him, he uses Dogtown horns. He uses a bunch of his songs. He grabs horn players all the time, and he's a blues guy. Blues, rock, not so much one or the other, more of a combination of. So
Okay.
if you've ever listened to him, he's freaking phenomenal. One of the hardest working guys I know. His roots were blues. He started out being a rock guy. He had a band called Next Rad, which was X-Ray spelled backwards. They opened for Blind Melon. They opened for a whole bunch of different artists. And then he decided he wanted to regroup and revamp. And he said, I'm getting back to my roots, which were blues. And he's on Billboard all day long with his music. He's on Sirius Radio. He's a local guy here. And he still plays Hammerstones. He still plays these little bars at Soulard, and he doesn't turn down a gig. He's played everywhere. He's played Alaska. He's been in Europe. He was in Europe this fall, or I'm sorry, this past spring. So I mean, he's just, and his music is really good. I've got probably 5 of his CDs, and I know almost all of his songs. It's just great music, and they're not the same. Songs are not the same, and he uses a really great set of musicians. It's a 3-piece band, and he had 3. It was just the 3 of them for I don't know 5-6 years, and then he's got a new set of guys now. And it's still great music, a little bit different sound because he's got different musicians, but it's still that Jeremiah sound. So the 45 have their sound too. How'd you guys decide? Or do you just vary it every day, depending on what the song is, or because you're getting your sound. You gotta have yours.
The 3 that you have here are kind of in the same vein, which is kind of what we've been into lately. We can get bluesier. We can get more. I think we've got a couple slower, bluesier songs in the set that we're playing this weekend. We've got some that are more modern rock, that kind of poppy modern rock sound. There's a couple that are certainly more like blues shuffle oriented. We got some stuff that's a little more like the Buck Cherry kind of, the very fast paced. But it's kind of it's somebody will bring something in, and we don't say no, that's not us.
Right.
And when you're doing 2 songs at a time, you can go in a different direction as long as you got a suitable other kind of song that you can pin to it. Hey, this was our take on, it makes it a lot more low pressure to write and create when you're not going to walk in and have something be cut up or completely shot down because it's not in keeping. I don't write dance tunes, so there's really no risk of that being, I'm not going to come in with something that should be on, the top hits stations or anything like that. But, it's still commercial music. I mean, I think everything we do still has that underpinning of being accessible. I don't scream very well, so I wouldn't be writing anything like that anyway. I don't have a well to draw from to be that upset where I would scream.
I'm not into the screaming where you can't understand what they're saying. I never really understood that whole movement, but to each his own.
It's very visceral. I mean, it hits you in a certain way.
It does, but when you can't understand what they're saying because of the screaming, then it's like, whatever do you mean? Yes, yeah. It just hurts my throat when I listen to it. But like I said, everybody's different, and I really do give it a try to listen to it, but it's like, I can't understand what you're saying. I want to know what you're saying. You're not just up there screaming. You're saying something. I can tell. You're making words.
Mouth noises, loud noises. Yeah.
Can't understand.
What gets me is people that can do that really visceral screaming and then snap right into like a multi-octave range. And
I know.
I think my throat already hurts from just 2 seconds of being silly about it.
I know. Can you
And
believe
it's,
it?
yeah, I can't imagine the amount of strain that puts on over the years. But you think steroid shots and all this other stuff to fix it. Oh, well, you have to
It's
train
American
your voice
honey.
to be able to do that.
It's American honey.
Just hurts
That's what
just listening to it.
That's what I'm told. It's American honey. So tell us about Roll Me Home, and then we're going to listen to it.
Roll Me Home is probably the only one that doesn't fit into the fairy tale format. This one is more. This is more my personal well. This is actually something
Really?
that I do relate to. Yeah.
Okay.
Going to the bar after a breakup, hitting on anything that moves because you just want to feel validated, and it doesn't work, and you only come across as more of an idiot. So your buddies kind of pull you over in the corner and feed you drinks until the bartender's your best friend, and they give up on you, and
Right.
you end up in a wheelbarrow in the parking lot.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
It has happened. So it's Roll Me Home, and that's the idea. And we're working on the video right now that will kind of explore that theme a little further. We had to find different wheeled things to put ourselves in, which was kind of fun. Being saran wrapped to a moving dolly was kind of interesting. And if you can imagine, the tip to the
yes.
two wheel ones. It's two things at the same time because you're being tipped backwards, but you also don't have the ability to balance, so you're
Right.
not completely falling over.
Right.
But your body still wants to make you straight because
Right.
you're not completely.
Right.
It's like just a little off, and so all the little support muscles are trying to trigger to, and it is the hardest thing. And you get a couple drinks and it's even worse because you're just equilibrium is kind of like, okay, dummy, now sing the song while you're doing it. I'm like, I can't even think about standing still right now. And they're swinging me back and forth doing, pirate stuff behind me, and I'm just, ugh. It was, and nobody believed me until they all got in it and tried, I want to try it. Oh yeah, that sucks. Like, okay.
Yeah,
well,
right.
4 hours of that is enough. But so we recorded that over at Utopia down in the downstairs down there.
That's a very cool studio.
We picked a good day because it wasn't super cold and humid down there, so we were able to get it done. But yeah, it's confined spaces with wheeled vehicles, and luckily it's got the high ceiling there. But when you're staring at the ceiling and everything is going back and forth like this, and you have my arms down and everything, so it was kind of a trip.
That's hilarious. Episode 93, STL Roar, mycitymymusic.com. We've got Baines Johnson in here from the 45. We're going to listen to Roll Me Home. Be right back. That one on.
I do it the punches and roll me home. Oh, you can leave your cross in the corner by the door. Head out to the floor, 'cause it's time to forget our fate. Oh, you offer me a hand, but you don't know what you're in for. No, I'm on a drive.
That was awesome. Here, we got to give you guys this. I love the studio audience. We have to see them. They just like music.
Do you have a boo on there too?
I have, I've got crickets.
You should have just left that one going.
And then,
Anytime I talk, just leave that one going.
and then we've got this one. We got this one. And let's see.
And you know this, man.
A whole bunch of
This was my favorite. That's how I drive. And then this one is the Funkmaster Flex Boom. What is this?
buttons.
And then this one. Let's see. The purge siren.
That was the other instruction I was given, is by no means am I allowed to use the soundboard.
Oh well, this is all I have. I just have these 2, 4, 6, these 9 things right here. That's all. That's the only noise I get, and I used to play this. Now we used to have buttons and noise makers and this thing, but Justin took them all to the other studio. Justin's one of the other owner. Tweezy and Justin are the owner. We got to give Tweezy props. So the other 2 studios are where? One's on Hampton. Where's the other one? Oh, just Hampton here? Okay.
Well, not just. I mean, this is a cool
Not
room.
just.
This
No,
is a
I
really
thought there
cool
was going to be.
space.
I thought there was 3. I thought there was another one. No, this is a very cool studio. The other one's on Hampton. They run like 30 plus shows out of these. This show's the only one like this, though, right? Yep, the only one. The biggest pain in the ass that he has.
But you know, you kind of notice in here when you're talking to, it's not super echoey. For an old buildings, you either have like a really low ceiling or you have to add a whole bunch of shit in here. But this is actually really well damped for what we're doing.
And it's so we've had full bands in here and play, and it sounds really good. So that's what I was hoping you guys would do, but it's all right. You'll have to sometime.
I'm sure we will. I mean, you
Yes.
threaten them with a good time, we'll find a way.
Well, I wasn't sure because of, I know you guys had your show this week, but I thought, well, if I could get 1 or 2 of you in here, just because of the show at Diamond, so.
No, that's
Otherwise,
great.
So, Charlotte Pub, have you been to that bar yet? That's
I
where
live under a rock.
you don't live. Well, kick rocks, kick them all off your house. Charlotte Pub is like my home away from home. It's been around for over 20 years. Judy is the owner, and she has been in here several times. They have the best jam session on Thursday nights. All the best musicians play there. It's a smaller venue, but the sound is impeccable. I mean, everybody from Richard Fortas to Jimmy Griffin have walked into that bar and played. And usually when she has bands in there, they're a little heavier on the weekends, but it's really good music. I mean, like I said, bar none. Their jam night is Thursday night. It's one of the best. I don't know who's playing this weekend. My phone is up there. I don't know who she has on the books. But and then Wednesday night is Parrots, and then also on Thursday night, Diamond has their jam session, and then Tuesday night is Salvatore's in St. Charles. So you have no excuse not to go out and play somewhere. Even if you're not playing with your band, you guys can go out anywhere. You could go to any of these bars and audition.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys came out on Wednesday night, you guys should come out on Wednesday night to Parrots. I'll buy y'all a drink.
They're out that way. I will.
You're the only one that lives here.
I will start pulling some ears.
Do that. You should come out on Wednesday, play a couple songs. You can,
It's never just a couple. It's just like drinking. It's never a couple. It's
it's a jam night.
They got to
You
get
can
the
just
little hook
keep
and pull
playing.
you off the side of the stage.
Yes. No, we don't pull anybody off the stage. Everybody gets to play. Everybody gets to play. So Christian Connor, he is his band, Trailer Park Hero, but they changed the name to One Night Stand. He's a great vocalist.
I can't believe that wasn't taken.
What?
One Night Stand as a band name, not taken?
I
That's
know
a
it's-
tremendous oversight.
Everybody has taken it. I don't know why they changed the name, but that's whatever they decided to do. Matt Williams, he's an exceptional guitar player. Bobby Guion who's the bass player. He's in 3 or 4 bands. He's awesome. And the drummer is Brad Murphy. He's been in several bands. So And I try to mix it up where everybody who comes up to sign up to play, everybody gets to play. I mix them up as well, not just one person at a time playing with the band. In other words, I'll grab a drummer out there and mix it up with a singer who wants to play and put them together. It's a jam night. And people come out all the time. I have people call me or text me and say, I need a drummer, I need a bass player, I need to put a band together. Go to a jam night, find some people, throw something together. You have nothing to lose. And if your chemistry matches at that point, I mean, it's awesome. If it doesn't, walk away. It's all good. Nobody's got their feelings hurt, you know. So a lot of people stress over putting bands together and thinking they have to have that person or that person, and then they get together and they don't mix. It's like oil and water, and then there's hard feelings and issues and screw that. Just put it together. Don't, you know.
I think people move around a lot more than they used to now, especially with COVID and people that are coming out from the coasts and coming here now. We're going to get some really cool, fresh talent. I think that's going to open up a lot of new groups. Some of these guys that are in 9 bands, and that's their job. And I like seeing great musicians play, but you do want a little variety.
Right.
You know, I think it's cool in the guys that are doing, 3 or 4 different tributes, so you can see the same, the reimagining of the same, and they get out of the character. It's like watching a movie with an actor that you recognize. It's
Oh,
like
yeah,
you
definitely.
can stop, you can pretend that it's somebody else if they're that good.
Right.
Right. Jim Carrey just poured himself into his roles, did all the rubber face stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You always knew who he was, or Mike Myers, or these guys
Right.
that did all the characters and stuff. But you could suspend disbelief long enough to really enjoy it because they were that good. But there's plenty of people coming in. I think that there's websites that you can go and meet bands and stuff. There's Craigslist, there's Facebook and this and that, but there is nothing really like going and actually watching somebody in their element, because it's not just can they play. It's can you interact with the crowd. It's can you behave yourself before and after, and not hit on somebody's wife and not,
Not be a total asshole.
we struggle. We do our best. We struggle.
Well, I mean, everybody is an asshole at one time or another. It's not the end of the world. But then when you have a reputation of being one, nobody wants to be around you. Then you got an issue. And I know of a couple of musicians. I hate to even say this, that are not even allowed in certain bars because they're such shitheads.
Why do you think I'm here alone?
Oh, I know, right? Rock, paper, scissors. Send the kid out there.
Send the asshole. He'll be fine.
That's right.
Give
He
him a-
has no kids yet.
Give him 2 years or two pages worth of notes. Don't chew gum. That was
I have gum. You need some?
No, I'm good.
I chew gum all the time. I have to.
But you gotta set the compressor so that they can just taste what flavor it is. That's the idea. No, there was a whole list of.
Oh shit!
There was a 1 in a million chance that would happen.
Because that's how I roll. You talked about an accident looking for a place to happen.
She's going under the table now.
Oh well, it's not the first time. Here, have some gum.
I'm always chewing gum, so to not do it is weird.
Yes.
Is this regular gum or has it got nicotine in it?
No nicotine. Ooh, why?
I was checking.
That's a waste.
They
That's
come
like
in the same package.
that's like that's like decaffeinated coffee. Why bother?
Because it's 4 in the morning, but you still want coffee.
Yeah, but it doesn't have caffeine in it. It doesn't taste the same.
We got really addicted to like the Italian espresso, the really, really dark stuff that you can't see through.
Oh, that's the best.
That's coffee.
That's the bomb.
And so she makes, and this is when you're living together, you start to discover. So now we have to make 2 separate pots of coffee.
You use the French press.
We haven't gotten that far.
The French press. That will definitely divorce you.
We'll free up some counter space, and I'm going to experiment with
I
it.
hate those damn things.
I keep threatening to get one of those Jura machines like they have at the hotels that push all the buttons and it has the.
The Keurig.
No, it's called a Jura. It's like the.
Oh
it's
hell
the
no! Those things are
all-in-one-
retarded.
Yeah, and they make
No,
airline
no,
airplane
no,
noises, and they
no,
foam the milk and everything for you.
No.
I like coffee though. I mean, it's.
I do too. I'm a coffee freak, but I'm not going through all that bullshit.
It
Anyway.
has like a milk dispenser in it that you put
Yeah,
like a
I
quart
know.
of milk in there and does
I
the
know,
whole
and
thing.
you
It's-
gotta fill it. You gotta fill it up. You gotta keep it filled.
and special grinders and what is it?
Yes.
They're fantastic.
Yes.
I worked in an office that had one, and it made me cry. And I was like, "Look, I don't want a bonus. Just one
let
of
me have
those.
that."
Just one of those." And they're like, "We'd rather give you a bonus. Go look at what those cost. They're like $7,000."
Yeah, I know,
Okay,
they're
well, I'm never gonna have one of those. That's fine. I'd rather buy 10 more guitars. I don't need one of those. So she gets the coffee that there's barely anything in it, and You can put a book on the other side and read it right through the cup, you know?
Oh no.
It's water with just a little bit of coffee juice in it, and then half a gallon of milk. This isn't coffee. You're just drinking milk with a little bit of something in it. That's not.
Nobody teach her how to drink coffee.
Well, I'm trying to, but it's not working. We gotta like, I'll try to leave a little bit of mine in the bottom, you know. So
Right.
she's gotten smart to that now. She comes down in the morning and makes hers first, and takes it out and hides it, and then makes mine. And if I try to put the motor oil in hers, it just settles to the bottom because it's so much. The density is so much
Well,
different.
that's
It's like
her
a
little
science
bonus.
experiment.
She doesn't know what she's missing.
She does. She does, and that's not. Grab the wrong cup. Look up. No, that's breakfast and lunch. We'll put that over there.
Oh, bless her heart. What is your wife's name?
Cassandra.
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 So we got to give her one of these. Urinals.
So it's been a
years.
lot of off and on, and a lot of hair changes and
Coffee issues.
coffee issues. You work those things out over time.
You do.
You don't realize the changes that you have to make when you start kind of bringing things together. Because I'm usually the one that 6 months in, I'm like looking for an exit plan. You know.
Right.
You realize that it was a mistake about halfway in, and now you're starting to intermingle things, and but now this one stuck. So
That's good. That's awesome. Well, it's something. You know, you have no exit plan. That's good.
didn't even think about one.
That's good. See,
It's kind
that's
of a
even
bad
better.
idea.
Unfortunately,
Well, you know-
I did when I got married. I got married at Las Vegas Boulevard, and I was like, how quick am I going to get home to Memphis? Because this is not going to last.
That's why they have waiting periods in some states now. They're
It's 30 days after. No, it's actually the waiting period is 30 days after you get divorced. You have to wait 30 days before you get married again. And I said, oh, I'm never do that shit again.
you're not going to re-up.
No, I'm not reing up. I'm good.
I think it was like Celtic societies back in the Middle Ages or in the Dark Ages that the marriage was a certain number of years. I think it was like a 3-year contract, and you could re-up. It's like your cell phone plan, like you can upgrade. Like that's cool. How your sister's looking a little bit. I think I'm gonna trade. I don't think I'm gonna re-up. You know,
Stop laughing, Tweezy.
I like strawberry, but that I don't know. There's something about Rocky Road that's just it's doing something for me.
Or maybe I should do this one. Re-up, Jesus Christ. I'm good.
But it's you look at like a marriage contract versus a phone contract. If you were given a contract for your phone that said we can take this back at any time and keep charging you for it, then you can't use it. And we're gonna give it to somebody else and they can use it and they can ring up charges and you got to pay for them. Would you sign that? Of course not. And it's never eligible for an upgrade, and if it breaks, you're fucked. Like that's what the contract says, but you sign it.
Right.
Because maybe that's they say you're stupid love. That's you get to a certain point. I guess you just get dumb. But
Oh my God.
no,
I'm
she
so
puts
sorry,
up with this
Cassandra.
every day. So
She does, doesn't she? Is she a teacher, a special ed teacher? Or
no,
what?
we do real estate. So
Oh, both of you do real estate. Oh,
so
awesome.
it's you clean the drywall dust out of your hair
Yes.
and
Yes.
we'll come home and it looks like you've been in the dugout because you got paint stripes and we do a lot of the work ourselves and it's
Oh, really?
it takes a lot. We flip and we buy and we sell and it's a whole.
I used to
it's
work
whole
for a
thing.
guy who was flipping houses. I love doing that work. It's a blast. I mean, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about building it from the ground up. Did a lot of HUD houses, and sometimes those just need to be gutted. You can't just go around shit or try to rebuild it. Just gut it and start over from the ground up and put it better. The bones are good, but the guts are just shot. Just, rebuild.
If you think like the average lifespan of a house now is 20, 30 years before it gets turned over. You get these houses up here that are 120 years old. That's been 4 or 5 generations of people who are like, I think I want that light to be over there. And they'll run an extension cord. They don't care.
Right.
They'll take whatever they got laying around and go.
Right.
And it lasted 20, 30 years, so the argument is it really wrong?
Right.
And it's not wrong until it catches fire.
Right. Exactly.
So, or
Exactly.
until you go to put a picture in and you break a water line.
Right.
A lot of these old houses that they had the old gas connections and whatever,
Yeah.
but they're still alive. So you take it with a sawzall and you're like, Oh, that would have been bad.
Yeah, right. I don't think we're gonna pass this one.
But it's wild. I mean, these old houses especially. We're trying to get some a little further out in the county too that we can the little newer. So I'm just done with plaster dust. It's so toxic.
And it's a pain in the ass.
I think it fucked my voice up, honestly.
It probably does. And then there's still, I just know asbestos is still running rampant.
But you know how you know if it's asbestos?
Mhm.
It tastes better.
Does it?
Oh yeah, it's sweet.
Really? I wouldn't know. Really?
No.
Did you eat that while you were inside the refrigerator?
Probably.
With the door shut.
Lead paint chips and yeah.
A little dip. Make a little dip.
No, there's nothing better than when you know you cut and you think you did a good job of making the little circle in the plaster and then the entire thing goes
Comes down your head.
yeah. Now we're
I
doing
know.
the whole floor. That's great.
It just amazes me that that. Have you ever been to Thomas Jefferson's house in Virginia?
Monticello?
Yes.
Yes.
How amazing is that damn thing? He made that how many hundreds of years ago? He was way beyond his time, way beyond his years. You know, with the copier that he made. You saw
Yeah,
that?
all the little inventions. Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was. But I mean, that he built that house. It's still standing. Foundation's not cracked. Nothing's falling off of it. I mean, it's amazing. And back in the day, they used to make homes like that. There's still a few out there that are still standing. You can't blow them up. But nowadays, they just fall right over.
Those three little pigs. They were teaching us this when we were kids.
Right.
I love fairy tales. I think they're probably the most
Right.
apt descriptions of
Yes.
morality, right?
Yeah.
You can huff and puff, but something like this isn't going anywhere.
No,
And you know, we were at one of the houses, and the tornado sirens are going off,
Right.
and you know, folks that are from, you know, states that don't have any weather,
Right.
you know, like Arizona, what are they going to do with a tornado warning, right? So, like, the sky's falling, we're all going to die. We're all like, it's fine. And we start playing. The sirens are going off. I'm like, you know, that's actually a B flat.
Right. Exactly.
Just-
Exactly.
If anybody's, it's actually a B flat.
Right. I know. I live in an old home in Granite City, and it's one of the older homes. And it's like it doesn't matter where I stayed in that house; it's not going anywhere. That house is not going anywhere.
There's a sense of safety that comes from that. I mean, despite whatever else happens on New Year's Eve, right? I know that nothing's going to fall on my pillow,
Right.
Because this thing is bulletproof.
Right.
But just the level of work that goes into some of these old houses and the stuff they put together during the World's Fair when they did that. All the little pieces that ended up like on somebody's porch. You get this
Right.
really plain thing and there's two fucking gargoyles on it. It's
Right.
so cool. You mentioned Monticello. This is kind of one of those weird musical things. I used to work at a catering company in a little penguin tuxedo and the white gloves and all that. And they would have big weddings and foundation dinners and fundraisers out there. So this was one of those fall when the weather was just starting to change there. It's very woody. And up over the green area that they had there, I think on the north, the fog's just kind of rolling in. And they've got a bridge over the little creek that runs through there. They had hired a bagpiper. And the piper wanted to be far enough away that it wasn't annoying people as they came in, because it was supposed to be this big reveal.
Right.
But it was Scotland the Brave, which is if you think a bagpipe song, that's the song you're thinking when you hear it. And it was coming in over the mist, and then you see this like silhouetted frame of the person it was the creepiest thing. There's just fog and bagpipes and just this.
How cool! I mean, the timing for it to be there at that place.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be awesome.
It was wild, and just because the basements there are dirt. And so when we were preparing the food, you needed all the catering, everything, and you had to take them down the stairs and down in this dirt cellar to prepare everything, and you're running up and down these stairs. So yeah, I know Monticello very well. My back thanks me for getting out of that business. But it was, just Virginia's another place kind of like this that has the older housing stock. But they get a lot of new stuff too. But just the amount of history, the Civil War, living out there.
Slaves quarters, the whole bit. I mean, and everything is still intact.
Oh yeah, and
It's amazing.
living there, we'd walk through the woods because they built woods there around these Civil War berms, so the subdivisions had to be kind of spaced out, and you could actually walk along kind of for miles in between the houses where they had all the. And if you go with a metal detector, sometimes you don't even need a metal detector. You find buttons, coins, guns, just all sorts of shit bones. But you find all sorts of stuff in just walking through the woods, and it was just this cool piece of history. And it's not that much history to us, you hang out with a British person, they're like, my pub's older than your country.
Right.
You know,
right.
my house is
Right.
before Columbus sailed. And
Right.
okay, well, that's a little humbling, but
Okay.
yeah,
and?
yeah. So tell me, what was Jesus like? You know, but it is really cool. This because I'm originally from California, which is there's nothing old there at all. They tear it all down and rebuild it every 20 years. It's and the real estate there is just insane. I would never go back.
Right.
It's not for me. But you know, just here having all that history and you know, you go visit other places and then you just kind of miss it a little bit. Just like it's just it's so boring, man.
Right.
Everything looks, it's like Edward Scissorhands, you know, it's all the same little house, you know. We don't have that here. We've got a lot more character.
Oh, definitely Missouri, and Missouri alone we're in the Midwest, but we still got tons of history. I mean, tons of it. People think Edward C. Handy. They think that W.C. Handy was from the South. He's from here.
Wasn't it, and then Tennessee Williams, right?
Tennessee Williams, Mark Twain. You know, we've got some pretty cool people in our history. Have you been to the Blues Museum? Oh.
I live under a rock. I travel all the time for work, so I'm just, I'm always gone.
You're a real estate guy and you live under a rock.
The solar
That
stuff,
is
there's a lot
such bullshit.
there's a lot of sales that goes involved in that.
You've
so
got to go to the Blues
gone all the
Museum.
time.
If you like blues music, let me tell you about it. So my friend Dave Beardsley, who's been in here, I got to give Dave a shout out because this was his years ago, something like that. Anyway, him and a guy named Mike Cosiola, they got the funding together. Devin Allman's on the board. John Goodman's on the board. Michael White of the White Stripes. Is it Michael White of the White Stripes?
Jack White.
Jack White. I don't care what I'm calling Michael. Anyway, Jack White of the White
If you
Stripes.
know him well enough, you can call him Michael.
Yeah, well, I don't. I just know of him. And I did meet him one time, but I know he doesn't remember. Another beer? Shot?
I gotta drive.
So anyway, so his
I gotta
idea
drive a
was to
mile.
have this history of the blues, and we did the pilgrimage from here all the way down the Delta, and it was so cool to go all the way down to we went Tennessee, Mississippi, and Morgan Freeman's got his bar down there. Zero, what is it? Zero, what's it called? What's his name? Ground Zero. Is the name of Morgan Freeman's bar? I think it's Ground Zero. Anyway, it's in Mississippi, and if you ever been to his bar, if you ever go there, it's so cool because when you walk in, it's like the inside of a barn, and there's Sharpies all over the place. You write on the walls, you write on the tablecloths, you write everywhere. Yeah, I've got my picture somewhere writing in the bathroom.
Oh,
but-
what's the place around here that does that? The Shack, where they do the chalk on the sides of everything. You go and have it like your $12 milkshake and.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you ever go to the Blues Museum, so all the history's in there. We've got stuff from Chuck, of course, and Bonnie Raitt. They did a soft opening the night before they opened, and she came in to see her picture on the wall, and just all these people, dead and alive, all their memorabilia in this freaking museum. Now it's an interactive museum. They have a stage in there that they play concerts. And you can go to each exhibit, and you literally can play. You can play any instrument. You can play with any singer, songwriter, musician, dead or alive, and you can record yourself with these people at each station. By the time you get to the end, after all 5 or 6 stations, wherever they are, you get into the mix-it-up room. This is where Jack White donated $1 million to the Blues Museum just for the mix-it-up room.
Okay.
And you take that, everything that you've recorded or listened to or took a piece of from each station, you mix it all up to however you want and make your own song.
Oh, cool.
And you can email it to yourself, and it always be there forever and ever. So when you come back to the museum, you can either create another one, you can add to that one, you can take away, but you can sing with anybody, Muddy Waters, Dionne Warwick, or Bess Armstrong, anybody you want, you can sing with them.
So do they have like a picture of them or a hologram or some
Yes.
inspiration that comes with that too?
Yes,
That's cool.
all of it. It's very cool. Then their history is there, who they were with, how long they've been around. I mean, just everything. It's so cool. Duck Dunn is in there. You don't have any idea who I'm talking about.
I don't.
Oh my God. Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers. But just, I mean, all kinds of people, and it goes into the history of the blues. It starts from way back from, you know, to the old blues guys on up to now, and it's really cool thing. You have to just go through it. I think it costs like maybe $15.
Totally.
You need to take the tour, take your wife, and go through that, and just check it out, because there's been a lot of local musicians have been in there and have played there. Steve Corfina, Jeremiah Johnson's played there. A lot of blues people, and some not just blues people, rock people. Tony Campanella's played there. There's a guy named Marquise Knox who's amazing. This kid is like 25 years old. He's got a voice like, wow, in his 40s or 50s. He's amazing. Great blues guy. So, but I mean, it's just something to check out. It's just a really cool thing, and they were talking about closing the doors a few years ago because of the money thing, but it's staying open with, you know, donations and all that kind of good stuff. So go in there and buy some overpriced souvenirs, and it's a Sugar Fire barbecue. Sugar Fire, is it barbecue? Cause yeah, it's attached to it too.
Okay.
So.
You know what's funny is we put flyers out in our Airbnbs that we have. We put flyers out for all the stuff that you can do. And the Blues Museum's there, and I think we even put free tickets out for people. I've never gone. I don't go anywhere.
You suck. I don't want to hear I don't go anywhere. I'm in real estate. I'm in a band. Really? Is that all?
I travel a lot, but it's always for work. It's you're going out to a cornfield somewhere and trying to imagine.
It's 5 minutes
knocking it
from
all
here.
down.
6 minutes from your house, probably.
Probably is.
Oh, you.
Sure it is.
You know what you're getting? You're getting
But
one
you
of
know
those.
But you know what the joke now is that, you know, now that we're done, we finally finished all the houses that we were working on, and now that we've got a little time, so let's just take a break. Let's take a year, and let's do all this stuff. Let's make friends, because COVID, you lose friends. You find out who's your friends, right? You find out the people that their politics that come out of nowhere that you never knew they had, one way or the other. I'm like, all right, well, that's a little bit extreme. I don't know what even is a Q and I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
But, you know, I don't necessarily pray to the altar of Dr. Fauci either. So it's kind of like somewhere in the middle are most of us, but everybody's so pushed on one side or the other. It's like, I just don't know. I'm going to live inside now. I'm just going to hide inside. I'll let you guys tell, you know, you tease, but going to shows has been kind of the only real refuge from that. And it's loud enough that no one's going to get in your face with their shit. So I'll just I listen to the show and I'll go outside and then we'll go home. I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
I don't have time for it.
I know.
You know,
That is kind of irritating, because sometimes I get people all the time that, you know, I'm out there listening and jamming out or whatever. That'll be the one yelling in my, I can't hear you. Don't talk to me when I'm doing this. I'm not talking business while I'm drinking.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out and just being silly, because that's what I want to do. I'll talk to you later. Send me a message. Send me a smoke signal, you know, a flare, anything. I don't want to do this. But there are a few people that just insist on wanting to yell in your ear, like you can hear them. I can't.
Well, it really changes perceptions of people. There are some really great, to pick on. Do you know who Leland Sklar is? He's like one of these session bass player. He's got 700 or 800 videos on YouTube of him talking and playing through some of these awesome. He's the bass player of everything you've ever heard.
Right.
From 30 years.
Right.
But his first few videos, it's like it's 8 minutes of him railing about politics, and then like 3 minutes of him playing a song. It's like, dude, do it in the opposite order. 'Cause I just want to watch the song. I don't give a shit what you have to think about whatever. First, if you're gonna do these videos, fucking dust around your little Hummels and the shit that you got in your room. Like this looks like it's like going to Grandpa's house and there's dust everywhere. Like, dude, you're on video. Dust first.
You're already staging his house.
But it's just one of those, like, they say that, like, you know, the clean desk and dirty mind and vice versa, and everybody's got their own little cute way of interpreting it.
Right.
But I can't think that much dust is good for anybody. Like, layers of like, there's a little path through the house, and it's like, dude, if you've played on these thousands of legendary records, hire a housekeeper. Like, pay somebody to fucking run a broom through here.
Right, something.
He's got 40 bass guitars and no brooms. Like, your priorities are kind of fucked, dude. Like, what is one of these also a Hoover? Like, let's get on this. Come on.
but it really it can totally ruin the way that you see somebody, and,
Exactly.
and you have a hard time separating the musician from their whatever. So
I know.
it's really hard for me sometimes to bite my tongue on that, and when you have a microphone to tell people what to think, but that's not your job.
No, no, it isn't. It isn't.
Play, monkey, play.
Exactly.
That's your job.
I say that all the time. I swear to God.
Just go play your little
I
drums,
do.
sing your little songs, and then go sit down, sell your little T-shirts. But I mean, really though,
Wasn't that what you're gonna do? Sell your little songs?
Yeah. Well, we have to rock paper scissors as to who has to sit behind and sell T-shirts while everybody else loads heavy stuff into the truck.
That would be you because you're not gonna load it.
Well, no, I probably will because I'm usually the one driving the truck.
Oh.
See, the trade-off is everything's at my house, so it's displacing, our whole way of life.
Right.
So we, and I do buy some of the cables and stuff like that. So
Right.
I've earned myself a little bit of a break.
Have you?
Well, no. But
you never get a
The
break.
bad side of that is if something breaks, and of course it breaks 5 minutes before you're supposed to play, or you can't hear the bass or whatever's not coming through here, then there's exactly one person that can chase it down and plug and unplug things. So as much as I'm silly about the knobs and stuff, I'm the only one that really knows how it's set up.
Right.
So we're trying to fix that.
Right.
Simplify first and then fix it.
Right.
But
It's a work in progress.
life is a work in progress. And then you die.
Yes. And
Isn't
then
that fun?
No. And I'm fine with it because we're not going to get out of alive no matter what anybody says. We're not getting out alive.
What was it? The comedian Stephen Wright, with the voice like
Yes.
this, because he said, he died from his injuries. He died instantly. It's like, well, yeah, he was hit by a car. You don't just, you're alive and then you're dead. There's nothing in between. It's not like you're waiting to die. And they're like, well, but he was hit by a car. He died of natural. It's not like he died of natural causes. He's like,
Right.
well, if you got hit by a car, naturally you would die. He's got a 6 or 8 minute back from the '90s stand up set that was just one after the other. He's like, what shit was he on? He's like, yeah, I went to a store to try to find something to put under my coasters.
Oh my God. Holy shit, that's ridiculous. But yeah, some people are like that.
That's not a terrible Stephen Wright either.
Not at all. Okay, so we are going to listen to one more song. Can we play head to toe?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And this
Hopefully-
one was every band who has ever had their, speaking of things breaking down 5 minutes before,
Right.
whether the show's over or you haven't been to the show yet,
Mhm.
your shit just breaks down halfway there, but you
Yes.
got a bunch of people in there with you and everybody's drunk. So it's up to the one person who can see one set of yellow lines to go and
Right.
diagnose what's wrong with the vehicle.
Right.
And then you have 8 little mechanics that want to come and tell you, have you tried to, it's just, have you ever changed brakes before? Do you want to do it? Can you
Shut up!
just hold this beer, hold this other beer that I've got down here for some whose is this? So head to toe is that moment where you've got a car full of people,
Right.
and then the car doesn't go anymore,
Right.
and then everyone wants to tell you at the same time exactly what's wrong and how to fix it.
Right.
But 9 sets of phones and 0 people think to call AAA. Or when you're in the middle of Podunk, next rest area is 78 miles. Like no, we can make it. It's only an hour.
Right.
And that's when you get to the
Challenge accepted.
yeah. So you get to the 39-mile mark, exactly halfway, and then the car goes, nah, fuck it. We're just gonna stop now. What, do you think it's out of gas? No, it's not out of gas. What do you think about the radiator? Like, it's 12 degrees. It's not the radiator. Do you want to do it? Do you have the Chilton manual on your phone? I don't. That's head to toe. Universal themes that everybody understands. But that one's more for musicians, because I think we've all been there at some point.
That's awesome. Episode 93, STL Roar, MyCityMyMusic.com. We have one of the 445 in the house. Banks Johnson.
And I apologize for being here.
That's okay. It's all right. We're gonna go out with a song, let's go. And then we'll going to take a picture, and then you can escape.
Thank you so much for
We will
having me.
let you go. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully, we can make this thing play right. I mean, because it had a mind of its own a minute ago. Let's see if I hit this. It should just start playing, right? That's not it. I know. See, when I hit download, that's where it goes.
Now, if we had he did really well at not driving for you this whole time.
I
He spent
know.
2 hours and let you do it yourself.
I
It's
can tell,
empowering.
there it is. How'd you do that? Because I downloaded it 80 times. Yes! Play! I gotta hit that.
So we roll. Do you got a long way to go, my friend? Right, you lied. Found yourself with nowhere to hide again. Shit, that's bad. Take her out and leave me alone, she said. 'Cause I won't waste another night on you. We're through. 'Cause every soul that we know, we're all back in head to toe. Now we're slipping through the cracks in the big stereo. High and low, heaven glow. Now we've got no place to go, but I'll refuse to follow you. We're high and dry, trading every ounce of my pride, oh yeah. Damn, my head. Watch your body changing from green to red. Shake and quake. Remember we just don't break down. 'Cause I'm torn with all the battle scars from you. Your abuse. 'Cause every soul that we know, we're all back in head to toe. Now we're slipping through the cracks in the big stereo. Rock and roll, high and low. No, we've got no place to go, but I refuse to follow you. Every soul that we know, we're all packed in head to toe. Now we're slipping through those cracks, but you don't know.